Hey friends, if I forced you to run a marathon next weekend, a full 26.2 miles, you would think I was a little crazy, right? Because you know that there's a certain amount of training that goes into covering a distance that long. That even if you were committed, even if you were super intense and put in all the effort you couldn't cover 26.2 miles without a significant amount of training. It's a simple principle of training versus trying. And it's true in our spiritual lives as well. We all desire to grow in our walk with Jesus, to know God more deeply and more intimately. But we often get stuck and we don't know how to grow or why we're not growing, because I think we put too much emphasis on trying and not training. Now, we can't change our standing with God, but I do think we can affect our intimacy with God through some basic habits and practices. And that's what we're going to explore for the next couple of weeks. So for the next 5 weeks, we're going to look at, explore, and experience together 5 spiritual disciplines that are timeless, classic practices to help us grow in our walk with Jesus. Now, the disciplines themselves aren't a means of getting closer to God. They simply put us in a place where He can mold us, shape us, and we can grow more intimate with Him. So in this analogy, if you think about our lives as the boat, and you think about God's work in the world and God's work in our lives as the ocean current and as the wind, you can't see or touch them, but you know that they're there, and they can be mighty and forceful at times. So in the motorboat side, you have a powerful engine and a throttle that you just crank down harder, and it's up to your own willpower to get you where you want to go in life. And despite what the wind or the current or the waves might be doing that day, you can, on your own effort, get to wherever you want to get to, regardless of what God might be doing or how He might be working. Conversely, think about our life as a raft. There's no oars, there's no engine, there's nothing to it. It's just an inflated tube that keeps you above the water, a life raft. You just sit there aimlessly, there's no effort, no trying, no movement or work on your part. You purely just sit there and let the wind and the waves do whatever they want, and you end up wherever you end up. But I think the sailboat is the best picture of what the spiritual disciplines do in our lives. With a sailboat, the wind and the ocean currents are super important in getting that boat where it's going. But if you're running the boat, if you're driving and steering that boat, it's on you to work the ropes, to work the sails, to work the rudders, to put the boat in the best possible position, to maximize the wind, to maximize the current, to get where you want to go. So it's a mix of both effort and also the wind and the waves. So as we think about the next few weeks in exploring the spiritual disciplines, let's think about it like a sailboat, that we're going to do what we can to raise the sails and work the ropes and work the rudders to put ourselves in the best possible place in the most favorable conditions for God to work in our lives. It's really popular today for everyone to talk about wanting to change the world, but few people really want to work on themselves and change themselves first. So I believe in getting your own home in order before you go about fixing everyone else's up. And so that's what we're going to do in the next few weeks. So I invite you to take this journey with us. You certainly will get out what you put into it. It's a process that we'll learn as we go, but it will invite you into this experience. And parents, feel free to join in as well. You can take these challenges, gives you something to talk about with your kids at home, and maybe develop and cultivate some habits and practices for your own life as well.